The stars looked different tonight. Amanda Wells noticed it first from the roof of the physics building. The telescope she used for her research project showed unusual movement among the stars. At 23, she was the youngest student in the Advanced Astrophysics program at Westlake University, and the only one who regularly checked the sky patterns at 2 a.m. Amanda adjusted her glasses and checked the readings again. Something was blocking the usual star clusters. Something big. She grabbed her phone and called her advisor. "Dr. Kent? It's Amanda. I think you should see this." "Amanda, it's the middle of the night," a sleepy voice answered. "The Capella sector is being blocked by something that wasn't there yesterday, and it's moving." There was a pause, then rustling sounds. "I'll be there in 20 minutes." Amanda went back to her telescope. The dark shape had grown larger. It wasn't a cloud or satellite. It was too big, too structured. A chill ran down her spine. By morning, everyone knew. The news showed the massive ship hovering over the Atlantic Ocean. It was silver and smooth, shaped like a giant teardrop, with lights pulsing along its surface. World leaders scrambled for emergency meetings. Military jets circled the object but kept their distance. 2 days later, the aliens made contact. They called themselves the Zraxians, a peaceful race that had been observing Earth for decades. They wanted to establish diplomatic relations. Their representatives would meet with world leaders at the United Nations. Amanda watched the broadcast like everyone else. The Zraxians were tall and thin with silver-gray skin that seemed to shimmer. They had 4 fingers on each hand and large almond-shaped eyes that were completely black. They spoke through translators, their own language a series of clicks and humming sounds. While her classmates debated the aliens in the university cafeteria, Amanda was quiet. Something about the Zraxians' language patterns bothered her. The mathematical sequence in their speech matched radio signals she had been studying for her thesis, signals that had been dismissed as background noise from distant stars. "These aren't first-time visitors," she said suddenly, interrupting her friends. "What do you mean?" asked Ben, her study partner. "Their language. The pattern matches signals I've been tracking for months. They've been sending messages to Earth for years." Ben looked doubtful. "You should tell Dr. Kent." Dr. Kent was less doubtful. He reviewed Amanda's research and made some calls. 3 days later, Amanda found herself in Washington, D.C., explaining her findings to a room of government officials. "The signals follow this pattern," she said, pointing to her charts. "It's not random. It's a beacon, designed to be found by anyone, looking closely enough." A woman in a dark suit leaned forward. "And you believe this contradicts what the Zraxians have told us? They said they've been observing from a distance. These signals suggest they've been trying to make contact for years, but selectively, like they were looking for specific responses." The information was passed up the chain. Amanda was told to continue her research but keep it quiet. She returned to campus feeling uneasy. A week later, the Zraxian diplomatic team visited Westlake University as part of their tour of Earth's educational institutions. Amanda was in the crowd when they entered the science building. The lead diplomat, who called himself Krell Nor, gave a speech about sharing knowledge between worlds. During the reception afterward, Amanda gathered her courage and approached one of the Zraxians standing alone. "Excuse me," she said. "I've been studying some interesting signal patterns from the Capella sector." The alien turned. Its large eyes seemed to widen slightly. "Signals?" it asked, its translator device making the words sound flat. Amanda showed it her phone screen with the pattern data. "They match the mathematical structure of your language. I think your people have been sending these for years." The alien stared at her for a long moment. Then it touched a device on its wrist. Another Zraxian approached, Krell Nor himself. They spoke briefly in their clicking language. Krell Nor turned to Amanda. "You have made an interesting discovery, Amanda Wells," he said. Her name sounded strange through the translator. "Would you be interested in discussing this further? Perhaps aboard our vessel. Your insights would be valuable to our cultural exchange program." Amanda felt a surge of excitement mixed with caution. "I'd need to discuss it with my advisor first." "Of course," said Krell Nor. We will extend a formal invitation." That night, Amanda called Dr. Kent to tell him about the conversation. He sounded worried. "Don't agree to anything until we talk tomorrow," he said. "I've learned some things that don't add up." But tomorrow never came. At 3 a.m., Amanda woke to a blue light, filling her apartment. She tried to move but found herself frozen. 3 Zraxians stood in her bedroom, their silver skin glowing in the dark. "Amanda Wells," said the one in the center, "you have been selected." The blue light grew brighter. Amanda tried to scream, but no sound came out. She felt herself rising from her bed. The last thing she saw was her apartment growing smaller below her as she floated up toward the ceiling, which seemed to melt away. Above, the underbelly of a small craft opened to receive her. The official story released the next day stated that Amanda Wells had accepted a special invitation to join the Zraxian Cultural Exchange Program. She would be the first human to visit their homeworld and would return in 1 year with valuable knowledge to share. Dr. Kent didn't believe it. Neither did Ben. But there was nothing they could do as the massive Zraxian ship departed Earth, taking Amanda with it. Inside a stasis chamber deep within the vessel, Amanda floated unconscious. Monitoring devices recorded her brain patterns, as 2 Zraxians observed. "This one detected the beacon signals," said Krell Nor. "Her mind shows unusual pattern recognition abilities." "Is she dangerous?" asked his assistant. Krell Nor made a gesture with his 4-fingered hand. "All humans are. Dangerous in their own way. They adapt too quickly. But this one is more dangerous than the others realize." The ship accelerated beyond Earth's solar system, heading for the Zraxian homeworld, Zrax Prime. There, a special enclosure was being prepared in their grand archive of sentient life, what humans would call a zoo. Amanda Wells, who had spent her life studying the stars, was now traveling among them, but not as an explorer, as a specimen. Amanda woke up slowly. Her head hurt and her mouth felt dry. She blinked several times before her eyes adjusted to the light. It seemed like sunlight, but something was wrong with it. The color wasn't quite right. She sat up and found herself on soft ground covered with grass. Around her were trees and bushes. A small stream flowed nearby. Birds chirped in the distance. It looked like a park on Earth, but everything felt slightly off. The sky above wasn't blue but pale green. The trees had leaves that were too perfect in shape. The stream made no sound as it moved, and there was a faint hum in the air, like machinery. Working in the background, Amanda stood up shakily. She was wearing the same pajamas she had on when the Zraxians took her from her apartment. "How long ago was that? Days? Weeks? Hello?" she called out. Her voice sounded flat, as if the air was too dense. A clear wall rose about 20 feet away. It curved upward and likely formed a dome over the entire area. Beyond the wall, Amanda could see other enclosures. Some contained landscapes different from hers. Rocky deserts, dense jungles, even what looked like an ocean environment. And there were other beings inside them. A creature with 4 arms was working with metal parts in the enclosure next to hers. Its skin was dark brown and looked tough like leather. In another habitat, something that looked like a glowing jellyfish floated in water. "You are awake." "Good." The voice came from a speaker hidden somewhere. Amanda turned and saw a Zraxian, standing on the other side of the clear wall. It was taller than the ones she had seen on Earth, with elaborate markings on its silver skin. "Where am I?" Amanda asked. "You are in the Grand Archive of Sentient Life," the Zraxian replied through a translation device. "I am Curator Ventuck. You will be studied here." Amanda walked toward the wall. "Studied for how long?" "Indefinitely. You are a valuable specimen, the first human in our collection." The word collection made Amanda's stomach twist. "This is a zoo." "A simplistic term. This is a scientific facility where we preserve and study examples of intelligent life from across the galaxy." Amanda pressed her hand against the clear wall. It felt warm and slightly soft, like firm gel rather than glass. "You lied to Earth. You said I was part of a cultural exchange program." Ventuck made a gesture that might have been a shrug. A necessary deception. Your planet is not yet ready for full integration into the galactic community. But specimens, like you, help us understand how to eventually manage your species. Manage? Amanda felt anger rising. You mean control. Study first. Control follows understanding. Ventok tapped something on a device on its wrist. Your habitat has been designed to match Earth conditions. You will find food, water, and shelter sufficient for your needs. Monitoring devices will record your behaviors. Cooperation will make your time here more comfortable. With that, the Zraxian turned and walked away. Amanda spent the next few days exploring her habitat. It was about the size of a football field with different Earth-like environments. A small forest area, an open meadow, and a little cabin with basic furniture. The food appeared twice a day in a container that rose from the ground. It looked and tasted like Earth food, but had the same slightly off quality as everything else. On the third day, she heard tapping on the clear wall. The four-armed being from the next enclosure was there, using a metal tool to tap a pattern. Amanda walked over. The being pointed to itself and said something Amanda couldn't understand. Then it tried again, speaking very slowly. Vex, it said. I am Vex. Amanda, she replied, pointing to herself. Vex nodded. Knew, you knew. Yes, Amanda said. How long have you been here? Vex looked confused, then held up its hands, showing all fingers twice. 20 cycles, it said. 20 years? Amanda felt sick. No escape, Vex said. Many try. All fail. Over the next few days, Amanda met other captives. Nima was the glowing, jellyfish-like creature who communicated by changing colors and light patterns. A translator device embedded in Amanda's enclosure wall helped them talk. The Zraxians collect 1 or 2 specimens from each world they find, Nima explained through the translator. They study us to learn our weaknesses. Later, they return to our worlds as friends, but really plan to take resources or control trading. Roots. Have they gone back to Earth already? Amanda asked. Not yet. They move slowly. They will study you for years before deciding how to approach your world again. During daily examinations, Amanda was taken to a lab where Zraxian scientists ran tests on her. They measured her strength, tested her problem-solving abilities, and took samples of her blood and tissue. They seemed especially interested in her brain activity. Amanda paid close attention to everything. She noticed the Zraxians always wore protective eye coverings when certain machines were running. She realized they couldn't see some light wavelengths that were visible to humans. She also observed their society. The scientists were treated with great respect. Guards and workers showed them complete obedience. The Zraxians had a strict ranking system based on knowledge and ability. One day during a vision test, Amanda noticed something odd. When a machine projected images for her to identify, she could see a pattern of light around the edges that the Zraxians didn't react to. Their security systems used these same light patterns. That night in her habitat, Amanda examined the food container more carefully. The metal tray had a thin edge she could remove. Over several nights, she worked it loose and shaped it into a small tool. During her next examination, she secretly placed the tool in a gap in her examination table. When the scientists left briefly, she used it to open a panel under the table. Inside were bundles of fiber optic cables that glowed with the same light patterns she had noticed before. Amanda quickly memorized the pattern and closed the panel before the Zraxians returned. That night, she used materials from her habitat to create a small device that could produce the light patterns she had seen. When she activated it near the wall of her enclosure, she discovered something surprising. The wall reacted to the light, becoming slightly less solid. It wasn't enough to escape, but it was a start. Amanda needed to learn more. She began watching the small rodent-like creatures that sometimes scurried along the paths between habitats. The Zraxians ignored them as if they were pests. But Amanda noticed something the Zraxians missed. These creatures were watching everything, and they seemed to be communicating with each other using the same light frequencies the Zraxians couldn't see. They're not just animals, she whispered to herself. They're waiting for something. Amanda decided to try communicating with them. Using her light device, she mimicked their patterns when one came near her enclosure. The creature froze, then approached cautiously. Its eyes, which looked simple at first glance, suddenly seemed intelligent and calculating. Amanda had made contact with the Whispers, the original inhabitants of the planet, and they had been waiting a very long time for someone who could see what the Zraxians could not. For 3 nights, Amanda waited by the edge of her habitat. Each time more of the small creatures came, they moved with purpose, their tiny paws making patterns of light that her eyes could see but the Zraxians could not. On the 3rd night, one larger than the others approached the wall. It stood on its hind legs and made a complex series of light flashes from spots on its fur. The translator in Amanda's habitat couldn't understand it, but Amanda tried to copy the pattern with her makeshift light device. The creature's eyes widened. It made another pattern, slower this time. Amanda repeated it back. Then she pointed to herself. Amanda. The creature touched its chest. Ilara. Over the next week, Amanda and Ilara developed a basic way to communicate. The creatures called themselves the Whispers. They had once ruled the planet before the Zraxians arrived centuries ago. Now they were treated as pests. Their intelligence, never noticed by their conquerors. Zraxians blind to important light, Ilara explained through simple patterns. Cannot see our words, our technology. Why don't you fight back? Amanda asked. Need special key. Need outsider help. Ilara pointed to Amanda. You see our light. You can help. Amanda learned that deep beneath the facility was an ancient control center called the Nexus. It contained technology that could control all systems on the planet, defense, power, everything. But it needed a genetic key to activate. The Whisper's ancestors had designed it to recognize only certain patterns, found in their own DNA and, by strange chance, in the DNA of a few other species across the galaxy. You tested me, Amanda said, understanding dawning. Those signals from Capella, they were a test. Ilara nodded. We search for compatible helpers. Long time. Your world answered. The Zraxians had detected the signals too and sought to find their source. That's why they came to Earth. That's why they took Amanda when she showed she understood the patterns. Amanda needed to share this information with the other captives. She convinced Vex to create a better communication device from parts in his habitat. The 4-armed engineer was skilled with any kind of technology. If I get parts from my examinations, can you build something stronger? Amanda asked through the wall. Vex nodded. Need circuit board. Need power source. Can build. Nima joined their secret meetings. The glowing, aquatic being could manipulate light in ways even the Whispers couldn't. Together, they formed a plan. During her next examination, Amanda managed to pocket a small power cell when the scientists weren't looking. Vex had told her what to look for. On the way back to her habitat, she noticed a maintenance panel that the Whispers had told her about. Quick as lightning, she dropped the power cell into a vent beside it. A Whisper was waiting there, and scurried away with the prize. The next night, a more complex device appeared in her habitat, hidden under a loose section of artificial turf. It was crude but effective. A communication device that could send and receive signals on frequencies the Zraxians couldn't detect. Amanda contacted Vex and Nima. Soon they were all linked in a hidden network, along with other captives who joined their cause. The Zraxians will move you to the deep testing facility soon, Ilara warned during a late-night meeting. They suspect something. They always take problematic specimens there. What happens at that facility? Amanda asked. No one returns, Vex answered grimly. They needed to act quickly. Amanda asked Nima to use its light-bending abilities to create a distraction during the next feeding time. Meanwhile, Vex would short-circuit the power in his section, causing the guards to respond. While they're busy, the Whispers will guide me to a maintenance shaft, Amanda explained. If I can reach the lower levels, I can find the Nexus. But they needed one more thing: access to the Zraxian security network. During her next examination, Amanda deliberately solved the tests incorrectly. This prompted the lead scientist to call in Curator Ventak, The human specimen is showing decreased cognitive function, the scientist reported. Ventok approached Amanda on the examination table. Are you ill? The translator asked. Amanda coughed weakly. I need earth medicine. My people have special needs. Ventok seemed concerned. Not for Amanda's welfare, but for the valuable specimen's condition. The curator accessed a terminal and began searching Earth medical databases they had copied during their visit. As Ventok scrolled through information, Amanda carefully watched the security badge hanging from the curator's neck. It contained a chip that granted access throughout the facility. When Ventok leaned forward to check Amanda's eyes, she coughed violently, her hand shooting up to cover her mouth, and deftly plucking the badge. She slipped it into her pocket as the Zeraxians stepped back. Prepare a treatment based on Earth medical practices, Ventok ordered. We cannot lose this specimen. Back in her habitat, Amanda gave the badge to a whisper who quickly took it to be copied before returning it. That night, Amanda planted the badge where it would be found by cleaning staff, making it appear lost rather than stolen. The next day, alarms blared throughout the facility. The four-armed captive in Sector 7, Vex, had caused an electrical fire. Guards rushed to contain the situation. At the same time, the aquatic habitats in Sector 3 experienced a strange light phenomenon, Nima's work drawing more security personnel. With the guards spread thin, Amanda pressed her copied security badge against a hidden panel the whispers had shown her. The wall of her habitat shimmered and a small opening appeared, just big enough for her to squeeze through. Outside, a group of whispers waited. Follow, Alara said. Quickly. They led Amanda through narrow maintenance tunnels that the Zeraxians rarely used. These passages had been built by the Whisper's ancestors and modified over centuries. The Zeraxians knew they existed but thought they were just service ducts for their stolen technology. As they descended deeper into the facility, Amanda began to see strange markings on the walls, not Zeraxian writing, but something older. The air grew warmer and the light took on a blue glow. We approach Old City, Alara explained, beneath Archive, where Nexus waits. They reached a massive door covered in symbols similar to the patterns Amanda had studied in the star signals. Alara approached a panel beside it and made a complex series of light flashes. The door rumbled open, revealing a vast chamber. Unlike the sleek silver technology of the Zeraxians, this room was filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. At the center stood a pedestal with a hand-shaped depression. This is the Nexus, Alara said with reverence. Control, center for all planetary systems. Zeraxians use our technology but never understand it fully. They think it machine, but it alive. Amanda approached the pedestal slowly. What happens if I touch it? If your pattern matches, you connect. You become key. You control all. And if I don't match? It rejects, alarm sounds, we all die. Amanda took a deep breath. How sure are you that I'm compatible? Your mind saw our signals. Your eyes see our light. Very few species can. We believe. In the distance, alarms began to sound. Their absence had been discovered. They were out of time. Amanda placed her hand on the depression. For a moment, nothing happened. Then pain shot up her arm as the crystal surface seemed to melt around her fingers, holding her in place. Light raced up her arm in glowing lines, spreading across her body. Her vision blurred, then sharpened to an impossible degree. Information flooded her mind, blueprints of the entire facility, the history of the planet, access codes to every system. She saw the rise of the Zeraxians, how they had discovered the sleeping whisper technology and used it to build their empire, without ever understanding its true nature. When the light faded, Amanda stood transformed. She could see energy flowing through the walls, could sense the location of every being in the facility, and she knew exactly how to take control. I see everything, she whispered. I am the key. Alara and the whispers bowed. Now, Alara said, we take back our world. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors as Zeraxian guards rushed in all directions. On monitors in the security center, Curator Ventuck watched the chaos unfold with growing anger. "Find the human specimen," Ventuck ordered. "Check all maintenance tunnels and bring me the caretaker who lost their security badge." But Amanda was now beyond their reach, deep below the facility where the ancient whisper technology hummed with renewed power. As she stood connected to the Nexus, streams of information flowed through her mind. She could see the entire complex, like a three-dimensional map. Every room, every corridor, every security system was visible to her. "I can see everyone," Amanda said, her eyes glowing slightly with the same blue light as the crystals. "Vex is being surrounded by guards. Nima's habitat is being drained as punishment." "You can help them," Ilara said. "You control systems now." Amanda focused her thoughts on the security doors in Vex's section. With just a thought, they slammed shut, trapping the guards outside. Then she redirected the water flow back into Nima's habitat. On screens throughout the facility, warning symbols began to flash as systems failed or behaved in unexpected ways. "What is happening?" Ventuck demanded, watching as door after door malfunctioned. A young scientist rushed into the control room. "Curator, the central computer is not responding. Something is overriding our commands." "Impossible. No one has that level of access except the High Council." But it was happening anyway. Throughout the facility, locks on habitat doors began to click open. Confused captives peered out, afraid to believe this might be freedom. In her own habitat, a female captive with scaled skin took a hesitant step outside her enclosure, for the first time in 15 years. In another section, a group of gaseous beings who lived in special containers found they could now leave without harm, their atmospheric needs suddenly accommodated by the facility's life support systems. Amanda reached out with her mind, sending a message through the Nexus to all the captives. "This is Amanda Wells. I have control of the facility systems. If you want freedom, head to Level 3, Section B. Whispers will guide you." The Zeraxians were panicking now. Guards found their weapons suddenly powerless. Scientists were locked out of their own laboratories. The archive that had stood for centuries as a symbol of Zeraxian superiority was falling into chaos. "We need to reach the other captives," Amanda told Ilara. "Can you lead me back up?" "Dangerous, many guards. They can't stop us now." As they moved through the tunnels toward the upper levels, Amanda continued to disrupt the facility systems. Lights failed in guard stations. Air circulation stopped in security areas, forcing evacuations. With each passing minute, she understood more about how to use her connection to the Nexus. They reached a junction where a large ventilation shaft connected to the main habitat area. Ilara pointed upward. "That way, but guards there." Amanda smiled. Not for long. She concentrated on the environmental controls for that section. The temperature plunged and mist began to form as she introduced moisture into the air. Within minutes, a thick fog filled the area, blinding the guards but not affecting Amanda, who could see through the facility's sensors. They emerged on Level 3 to find captives from all over the facility gathered there, guided by whispers. Vex spotted Amanda and rushed over. "You did it," the four-armed engineer said. "How?" The whispers had the answer all along. Their ancestors built this place before the Zeraxians came. She turned to the gathered beings. "We need to move quickly. The Zeraxians will find a way to fight back." Indeed, in the main control room, Ventuck had contacted the Zeraxian High Council. "Emergency override required," the curator reported. "All systems compromised." The stern face of High Counselor Draz appeared on the main screen. "How did this happen, curator?" "The human specimen has somehow accessed the central systems. She is releasing the captives. Initiate purge protocol." "Ordered." Draz. "Destroy the specimens if necessary, but regain control." Ventuck activated a hidden control panel that was not connected to the main system. Red buttons glowed ominously as the curator's fingers hovered over them. In the Nexus, Amanda suddenly sensed the new threat. Through her connection to the facility, she felt new systems coming online, deadly ones designed to purge the entire archive if control was lost. "They're going to kill everyone," she told the group. "We need to get to the landing bays. There are ships there." As they moved through the facility, more captives joined them. Some had been in the archive for decades. They passed through areas where Zraxian guards lay unconscious. Amanda had adjusted the air mixture in those sections to render them harmless without killing them. In the control room, Ventok pressed the final button. Purge initiated. 10 minutes to completion. Throughout the facility, heavy blast doors began to close. Gas hissed into some habitats. Defense turrets emerged from walls, but Amanda was faster. Guided by her connection to the Nexus, she rerouted the gas away from inhabited areas. She short-circuited the defense turrets, and most importantly, she kept open a path to the landing bays. "We're almost there," she told the group as they reached a massive door leading to the ships. Just as the door began to open, a squad of Zraxian guards appeared, weapons raised. Leading them was Curator Ventok. "Stop," ordered the Curator. "Return to your habitats immediately." Amanda stepped forward. The guards raised their weapons, but Amanda simply looked at them, her eyes glowing blue with the power of the Nexus. The weapons in their hands grew hot, then cold, then fell apart into pieces. "You locked me in a cage," Amanda said quietly to Ventok. "You thought I was just another specimen, but you never bothered to understand what you were collecting." "The purge protocol cannot be stopped," Ventok warned. "This facility will self-destruct in minutes." "I know," Amanda replied. "I've already disabled it. I've also sent a message to every Zraxian colony and outpost. They all know the truth now. How you built your empire by stealing technology you never understood. How you've enslaved and experimented on innocent beings for centuries." Ventok's silver skin paled. "You cannot do this. The High Council will never allow it. The High Council can't stop it. The message is already spreading. And I've uploaded proof. The facility's records, the history of your conquest. Everyone will know what you've done." The huge door finished opening, revealing a hangar filled with ships of various sizes. Amanda turned to the gathered captives. "These will take you home," she said. "The navigation systems are already programmed with your world's coordinates." The captives moved toward the ships, hardly daring to believe they were free. Vex paused beside Amanda. "What about you? Will you return to Earth?" Amanda shook her head. "Not yet. There's more to do here first." She looked at Alara and the Whispers. "These are the true owners of this world. I'm going to help them take it back." As the ships began to depart, Amanda turned back to Ventok. The Curator stood defeated, watching years of work literally fly away. "What will you do with us?" Ventok asked. "That's not for me to decide," Amanda replied. "The Whispers will determine your fate. But first we're going to visit the High Council. I think it's time they met the real power behind their empire." Amanda closed her eyes, connecting more deeply with the Nexus. Throughout the planet, Zraxian systems began to falter. Power grids reset. Defense platforms deactivated. Communications networks carried the truth to every corner of the Zraxian territory. The revolution had begun, and it started with a human girl who had been locked in a cage, but now held the keys to an entire world. The Zraxian High Council Tower rose like a silver needle above the capital city. It gleamed in the pale green light of the planet's sun, a symbol of power that had stood for centuries. Inside the grand meeting chamber, 7 Zraxians sat in elevated seats arranged in a half circle. They wore elaborate robes with markings that showed their high rank. High Counselor Draz stood at the center, silver skin almost white with age. "The reports must be false. No specimen could access our central systems." "The reports are accurate," said a council member. "The archive is compromised. Multiple specimens have escaped, and the human—" The counselor paused, almost afraid to continue. "What about the human?" Draz demanded. "She appears to have gained control of the Nexus." A wave of shocked murmurs swept through the chamber. The Nexus was spoken of in hushed tones even among the highest ranks of Zraxian society. Most believed it was simply the central computer that ran their world, but the oldest records hinted at something more powerful and mysterious. The massive doors at the end of the chamber suddenly sealed shut. Lights flickered, then stabilized, at half brightness. Screens around the room displayed the same message in Zraxian script. The truth will be heard. A side door opened, and Amanda walked in. She wore simple Earth clothes, the same pajamas she had been wearing when captured, now worn and dirty. But she carried herself like someone who commanded the room. Her eyes still glowed faintly blue with the power of the Nexus. Behind her came a group of whispers, including Alara and Curator Ventak, who had been forced to lead them here. What is the meaning of this? Draz rose from his seat. How dare you enter the High Council chamber? Amanda looked at each council member in turn. I am Amanda Wells of Earth. You took me as a specimen for your collection, but now I'm here to tell you that your rule of this world is over. Draz laughed, a harsh clicking sound. Guards, he called. No one came. Your guards cannot hear you, Amanda said calmly. All communications in this tower are under my control. In fact, everything connected to the Nexus is under my control. Impossible, Draz insisted. The Nexus responds only to Zraxian commands. Alara stepped forward. That is a lie you have told for generations. The Nexus was built by my people, before your kind even had space travel. The council members stared at the small creature in shock. They had never considered the possibility that the Whispers could speak, let alone claim to be the original builders of their technology. These pests? These are nothing but rodents, Draz said dismissively. Amanda shook her head. The Whispers built this world's greatest technologies. You stole their planet and treated them like animals. You've done the same to countless other species across the galaxy. The archive is just one example of your crimes. On screens around the chamber, images began to appear. The habitats of the archive, the experiments conducted on sentient beings, the records of planets conquered through deception after their specimens had been studied. You believe yourselves to be superior, Amanda continued. But everything you've built was taken from others. You're not conquerors. You're thieves who never even understood what you stole. Draz stood, fury evident in his posture. You know nothing of our history, human. We brought order to a chaotic galaxy. We preserved species that would have destroyed themselves. By putting them in cages? Amanda's voice remained calm. By experimenting on them? By using what you learned to exploit their worlds? She raised her hand, and a three-dimensional map of the Zraxian territory appeared in the center of the room. Dozens of worlds connected by trade routes and communication relays. Right now, every being in your territory is receiving the truth about your empire, the technologies you claimed to invent, the specimens you've collected and studied, the resources you've stolen. The counselors looked at each other in alarm. One checked a personal device and gasped. It's true. The information is spreading everywhere. You've doomed us, Draz hissed at Amanda. Without control, there will be chaos, violence, uprising. Perhaps, Amanda conceded. Or perhaps there can be something better. The Whispers don't want revenge. They want justice and recognition. Alara stepped forward again. For centuries we watched and waited. We sent signals to find someone who could see what Zraxians cannot. Someone who could access the Nexus and restore balance. And what do you intend to do now? Draz asked, his tone slightly less confident. Amanda looked at Alara, who nodded. The Zraxian people won't be destroyed or expelled, but your government will change. The Whispers will take their rightful place as equals. The other worlds in your territory will be given a choice, independence or membership in a new alliance based on cooperation, not dominance. And if we refuse, Draz challenged. Amanda's eyes glowed brighter. Then I will use the Nexus to disable every piece of technology in your territory. Your ships will drift in space. Your cities will go dark. Your weapons will fail. And the beings you've oppressed will be free to decide your fate. Draz sank back into his seat, defeat evident in his posture. The other council members looked to one another, then to Amanda. What would you have us do? One asked quietly. Step down. Help form a new council with representatives from the Whispers and other worlds. Use your knowledge to rebuild what you've broken. Amanda turned to Alara. The choice is yours now. In the days that followed, news of the revolution spread across the Zraxian territory. Some colonies resisted, but when their technology began to fail mysteriously, they quickly reconsidered. Ships filled with former specimens returned to their homeworlds with tales of captivity and liberation. On Zrax Prime, now called by its original name, Whisper Home, a new government formed. The Whispers emerged from hiding in huge numbers. Thousands had survived in the shadows, waiting for this moment. The Zraxians, stripped of their sense of superiority, began the difficult process of learning to live as equals with those they had once considered pests. Amanda remained at the Nexus, guiding the transition. Her connection to the ancient technology gave her insights no one else had. With each passing day, she understood more of its potential and possibilities. 6 months after the revolution, a small ship landed at the newly built Harmony spaceport. A human stepped out, Dr. Kent, Amanda's professor from Earth. He had never stopped searching for her. Their reunion was filled with tears and laughter. Amanda showed him the wonders of the world she had helped to transform. The Whisper cities, emerging from underground. The Zraxians learning to use technology they now truly understood. The communications hub that connected with dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Earth thinks you were killed in an accident, Dr. Kent told her. A cover story the Zraxians left behind. No one knows what really happened. Do you think Earth is ready to know? Amanda asked. Ready to join a galactic community? After seeing all this? Not yet, he admitted. But someday. 1 year after her capture, Amanda stood with Alara on a balcony overlooking the capital. In the distance, a group of Zraxian children played with young Whispers, something unimaginable before the revolution. Will you return to your world now? Alara asked. Amanda smiled. Not permanently. Earth isn't ready for what I've learned. But I'll visit and I'll come back here. There's still so much to do. She looked up at the stars, thinking of all the worlds connected through the Nexus, all the beings who had been specimens and were now free. A girl from Earth who had been locked in a cage had walked out with the keys to a planet. And with those keys, she had unlocked a future no one could have imagined. We send another signal soon, Alara said, to find more worlds ready to join us. Amanda nodded. And I'll be here to welcome them. Not as specimens, as equals. In the chamber below, representatives from 12 worlds discussed trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Former captors and former captives worked together to build something new. It wasn't perfect. There were struggles and setbacks, but it was better than what had come before. And it had all begun because someone had underestimated a human girl, thinking she was just another specimen for their collection. They had locked her in a cage, never imagining she would find the keys that would change everything.